Greetings, folks. It's Friday again, September the 10th. We're almost in the middle of September. It actually feels a lot like fall, but I don't want to get my hopes up. But I'll take what we can get. I don't have a lot to talk about today. Frankly, I'm tired about talking about COVID. Nothing changes. Not many people are getting vaccinated. Um, the hospitalization and death rate just keeps going through the roof. More people are getting sick. The positivity rates and the number of cases are exploding in every one of our counties in the state. Transmission rates are through the roof. South Carolina is a no fly zone. People are being warned not to travel to South Carolina. Um, Not much else to say around that. We're doing an awful lot of testing. I know it's gotten frustrating for many of y'all. Um, People need to be tested. We've tried to figure out how to decrease the demand somewhat because not everybody needs to be tested every day. Uh, that alone doesn't make a lot of people happy. So we're just between a rock and a hard spot. That's about the summary of it. We're doing what we can. Um, the really bright spot in what we're doing is our monoclonal antibody treatment. We are doing an extraordinarily large amount of it, of course, because there's so many sick people out there, so many people that have been exposed and tested and testing positive. It is going through the roof. It's very, very effective. I can't understand why people would accept a monoclonal antibody treatment and not accept a vaccine. That just doesn't make any sense to me. The monoclonal is a newer treatment than the vaccine is. But a lot of things don't make sense to me anymore. Uh, no news yet on the booster. We're expecting maybe to hear something next week because it's the week after that allegedly booster vaccines are supposed to be available, probably to those whose original vaccine was 8 months since then, probably. We're not really sure. There's all kind of things that are going on. One of the things you might be seeing happen in your work locations is it seems like people are getting moved around physically moved around, and that's because there are some very, very important new OSHA. You know what OSHA is, right? The Occupational Safety Hazard uh, Office or Association or whatever it stands for. OSHA can do some pretty tough damage if they come into an organization and they find out that that organization is not doing everything in their power to protect the safety and welfare of their employees. So they issued a bunch of new standards back in July and early August, and more's coming from what we can understand about how the work site must be safe, how we have to create environments where if a person is unvaccinated, that they have safety, and even for the vaccinated. So it's really making some real problems in many of y'all's work sites. We're having to move people around, relocate them, trying to put up some distance between those of you who are not yet vaccinated so that you don't infect others. It's gotten to be a real challenge. So if you are getting a little disgruntled or concerned, I'm sorry. Um, we are doing the best we can to be able to meet these new OSHA requirements. And remember what I said, more is coming. Many of y'all are reading the news first thing in the mornings, and you may see that OSHA is going to be releasing some things about mandatory vaccination, as is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. These folks hold a lot of power over us. CMS, pays for Medicare and Medicaid claims. If we don't do what they want us to do, oh boy, we don't get Medicare and Medicaid payments. And a lot of us won't have jobs. Put it just that simple. So we're not quite ready to see what the implications are on all of that, but we got to study on it. It's pretty significant. So everything is about the war that's happening out there with the pandemic. It is really stretching our resources, our capacities, and our capabilities to the limit. So I don't have much else to talk about. Don't forget that on 9/23, September 23, which isn't but 13 days away, we are having a town hall, kind of a quasi staff meeting. Dr. Jane Kelly is going to give us some information. And I'll tell you, Jane Kelly is the state's assistant epidemiologist, and that lady is a smart lady. She stays up to date on everything that's going on, studies, evidence-based material. She is really quite something. And we'd ask y'all if you have any questions to either submit them. You can submit them to me, you can submit them to your supervisor, or you can be anonymous. And we've put these boxes around in most every location where you can just drop a question in. You can type it if you don't want anybody to figure out what your handwriting is and say, oh, yeah, that's Susie, that's her handwriting. It can be completely anonymous. But for Pete's sakes, take advantage of this. There's a lot of you out there who are not vaccinated. You've got to have questions. You've got to have reasons behind that decision. Take advantage of this. Get your questions, your concerns addressed by one of the best experts in South Carolina, and she's even well known in even larger circles, the Southeast and some other areas. So that'll be September 23rd. It is a mandatory attendance, just like all of our staff meetings are. That's not anything unusual. We're putting big monitors in locations. We're trying to figure out how we can do this safely. A lot of folks are working from home and can join the meeting. It will be via Zoom, virtual, very as safe as we can make it. It's not going to be easy because we've got so many locations and some of the connectivity won't be all that good. But frankly, it's the best we can do. It's not perfect, but it's the best we can do. So hang in there. It's tough times right now. Honestly, this is just about the toughest time that here South Carolina has ever been faced with. It's different than it was in the beginning of the pandemic. A lot different. Mainly because there is so much transmission going on. I know many of y'all have kids in schools. I really, really feel for y'all because it's like a war out there. So many of you are having to quarantine yourself because your kid has been exposed at school. We have probably 20 some odd staff on quarantine right now. I didn't get an update before I did this video. And I know the problem that causes. I understand what happens when you're short staffed. It's affected us in management too. There's a lot of things that are falling through the cracks because management have to be out and quarantined or not available. They too are struggling with families that have had the consequences of COVID. We are really all still struggling with this, and we're tired. We're tired. We're frustrated. I am. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. I'm anxious. I'm concerned. We all are. Let's hang in there, folks. Let's do the best we can. Y'all must be able to hear Samson. Many of y'all met Samson early on in this pandemic. So, bye bye. Take care. Have a good weekend.